And so this dog whisperer told me, Farley, don't hesitate to kind of nibble on your dog occasionally, just to let him know that you trump that. So I do. I'll take Moose's ear sometimes when he's being a little naughty, and I'll just do a little like, hey, I got you. I'm older and wiser, and I own you if I have to put him back in his place.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. We're back after an amazing Mother's Day weekend. It's a lovely day here at Bring It On Studios, sitting with my girl, Jennifer and Farley. We just love it every week, coming to you, bringing you really fun stories. And ladies who are listening, I hope you had the best Mother's Day, because I know that we did, Far and Jen. It's exciting just to be around family and friends.
It's great to be here today, and we appreciate you tuning in. I had a great opportunity to go to the Niagara Falls of Pennsylvania. We hit Bushkill Falls, which was epic. We got it on a perfectly beautiful day with the sun shining and the falls flowing and a beautiful rainbow. So it was a perfect way to break up a long trip from Penn State. I recommended going there and taking it. And then we were able to pop into a little roadside stand with Route 66 playing some 60s music and sharing a cocktail with my kids and having a burger. It's a great Mother's Day. What about you guys, Far?
I was just very happy that Mother Nature cooperated, because I was in the worst weather at the beginning of the weekend.
Ugh.
And it was sideways rain and freezing cold in Boston, and returned to good old Jersey, and it was blue and beautiful. And we had a fantastic family affair.
It was a
perfect 10 Mother's Day. I was laying on the beach and I got fried, which is shocking, but not because my body hasn't seen sun in such a long time. And then we went to Dare's and ended up having as much fun as you possibly can have.
As we do. But we left out the most important part. Every Mother's Day, my favorite bar in the world, open. And every Mother's Day, Mom, what do you want to do for Mother's Day? I want to go to the Parker House and tap the Guinness keg. So we met there first before going to the house after a beach day. And it was just
had like 15 Luke burgers.
Just
mini burgers.
Summer kickoff. I feel it.
We did it. We checked every box that day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love it. Oh. So good. So far, what do we have? We have the top three.
This is number 3. The 78th annual Cannes Film Festival rocked the Riviera by prohibiting sheer nakedness on the red carpet this year.
I'm thrilled. I got to be honest. After watching the nakedness, Kanye West's wife, and unless people are dressing up, they're taking it all off. And it should be something that's honored and revered when you are winning an award or showing up for somebody else's award.
It's like fashion to be in pantyhose from head to toe. What the hell is that?
Well, the French like to make the rules.
Hollywood's going to have a hard time with that. That's all I have to say. It's going to be hard for all those Hollywood people that like to show it all.
Yeah. Well, they also made some rules about the length of trains and it becoming a logistical nightmare for the people that run these events. It's
back down and show some class.
Agreed.
Let it be about what it is, instead of trying to steal the show by showing off all your assets.
Literally.
Number 2. Well, why do you think P. Diddy, no pun intended, changed his name?
Yikes. Gross.
Well, I'm sure you've read all the headlines about Cassie Ventura coming out and the massive lawsuit that she thankfully is put in play. Opening statements were that Diddy hired an escort and did the unfathomable, peed or urinated in her mouth until she choked.
He's just a gross human. Not only was he domestically abusing people in his life, but the circles and the things that he created with these freak off parties. We covered it back in episode 32 with Did He Do It? And it's getting more and more obvious that his tangled web of lies and inappropriateness is just not okay.
We'll see what happens to him. Only time will tell.
Well, his star witness just went MIA. The star witness that we need to take him down, number 3.
Right.
She went MIA, which is not shocking by any means. Got power from wherever he is, even though his hair turned gray.
From being in jail.
So refer back to number 57, our human trafficking episode. We take this seriously, and it is a real problem, and everybody needs to wake up. It's happening in your backyard, and it's happening right in front of our eyes with the beloved Hollywood crew. So that brings us to good news. #1. God blessed America. Peru, Nova Nation, Chicago, and the rest of the world too, when they announced Pope Leo the 14th as our first American pope.
He's somebody who they're saying is going to follow in Francis's footsteps. And we know that Francis was honored and revered by many across the world when he passed. And he's going to lead in the power of the people and make sure that the working class citizen is represented. And he's also very concerned about where AI is going and what the implications are, not just for society and business and jobs, but the world and the existence of humans. So I'm thrilled that he's acknowledged that very quickly.
Oh, yeah. He stands for the moral authority for the entire world. I was watching everybody in St. Peter's Square, and you saw every different kind of human. It didn't discriminate at all. And they're just waiting for the white smoke. And then all of a sudden it erupts, and here comes Pope Leo. And it was magical. And the most amazing thing is that you see that people are trying to text and send photos, but all the signals were down.
There's too many people, a concentration.
No. So what happened? Everyone started picking up the phone and calling. Old school CBS were like, oh my God, look at everyone's talking to their family, talking to their friends. And it just brought you back to, this is such a magical moment, almost taking it back to the roots.
I read a headline about how he is the most non-American American pope because he's bilingual, trilingual, how many languages?
5 languages.
He was a missionary, and he is liked all over the world because he was always going on missions. So everyone was familiar with him, but it happened pretty quickly.
So we've on Girls Gone Gritty, we love to cover topics that really get to the grit and the importance of what we're doing here in life. And topic that is really deep that we want to cover today has to do with our four-legged friends that we invite into our families that become such an important part of our lives. And that's our four-legged friends, our animals that we love. And we're going to talk about how to be the most beautiful and amazing parent to your pets. It might not have been as topical or as controversial as some of our earlier topics, but it is equally important to talk about those individuals that are invited into our homes that become family members that have their own personalities, our pet, cat, dogs, birds, gerbils, rabbits that you've had over the years that has come into your life, made an important impact. We want to talk about being a responsible pet owner to our friends that are of another species. We want to get you involved in the conversation of how to be a responsible pet owner, how to appropriately take care of them, how to be a good master. So let's go ahead and dive deep into the responsibility of pets.
I think pets are the most fabulous gift that you can be rewarded with, whether you're a child, an older person, or just the middle of the road like we all are in at this stage in life. I can't imagine a life without pets.
Oh my goodness. The pets that give you unconditional love. When you come home and you're having a bad day, they greet you at the door and they put a smile on your face. Every time they're around you, they're warm, they're cozy, they sit on you, whether it's a cat making biscuits, when they do their little paws on your leg, or the dog that just leans on you with its dragon breath, which is my little dog. It's never a bad day. You look into their eyes, you look into their soul, and they're part of your family. And with that come responsibilities because you want to give them the best life.
I mean, they are family members. In fact, I actually like pets more than I like a lot of humans. To tell you the truth, they don't really make you have a bad day. I mean, maybe if you're picking up a pile of fresh poop, you're a little annoyed, but the love that you receive from them is more rewarding than the little trivial things that you have to do along the way.
Well, that's true. Statement of in sickness and in health. They're always there because you're the one taking care of them.
Well, I think that's the initial phase of getting a pet. Everybody's excited. I'm going to get the cutest new puppy or a cat or a gerbil or a hamster or an exotic bird. That's an amazing emotion that we want everyone to have, right? And it's the reason why most people start with a pet. I had my son who lives in Colorado. And for those of you that have people and family members that are off doing their own thing in their next stage of life, he misses our dog Blue every single day. And he called me at one point and he's like, Mom, I'm so excited. I think I'm going to adopt a dog from the local shelter here. And I was like, that's amazing, Jack. I was trying to stay in the moment of being excited for him. and loving the fact that he was missing the dog and he was missing us and wanted to bring in a family member of his own into his fold in Colorado. And I let him stay in that for a little bit. And I'm like, Jack, that's amazing. I said, what does the boarding house say about you having a dog? He's like, well, I haven't really spoken to them about that yet. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you probably need to cover that. I know you're excited about getting this dog, but is it really okay if you have a dog in the facility?
Logistics matter.
Like it matters. And then I said to him, I'm truly excited, but you factored into the cost of the dog? Have you thought about how much you're going to have to spend? I know you say things are very expensive out in Telluride. You know, dog food's not inexpensive, and you don't want to feed your dog anything like subpar. So it's an expense to get adequate food for your dog. And I said, Jack, you also really like to travel a good amount and you're not home a lot. Who's going to train this dog? And what are you going to do with this dog? We have a big trip this summer planned for Australia. You're going to have to board the dog. I'm like, so, you know, let's go through the whole process. Once we're in excitement is a great thing. And let's enjoy the puppy and the cat, but you got to extrapolate that out after the excitement wanes.
That never happened with us. People just got a dog and came home, and then it became my mom's dog, like Yogi. Pat, my brother Pat went and got Pat and Shane, or it was just Pat, right? It was
Pat's dog in college.
Yeah, Yogi, a chocolate lab, and it was the best dog ever. But what happens when you get a dog in college or after college? It ends up your parents' dog.
Oh yeah, it does.
See, I used to beg and plead with my parents. Anytime I asked them for something, it was a pet. I promise I will walk the dog. I promise I'll be responsible. And so it started off with, I think they gave me fish at first, and then I had a frog, and then hamsters. So they started off with smaller things when I was younger. And as I showed that I was responsible for cleaning out the cage, or I was changing the water correctly, or doing whatever needed to be done. Or you
didn't kill the fish. As long as you didn't kill the fish, you could evolve to the next pet.
And so my parents were like, okay, our child, she's an only child. She definitely needs a companion. And I got a dog named Jazzy. And Jazzy was my life. She was something that I woke up looking forward to being with, and I came home and that was my companion. And I did everything. I followed through with my word. I didn't just give them a blanket of false promises. I walked her. I cleaned up her poop. I bathed her. I did everything. And I did really learn how to become a responsible pet owner. She was my bestie for years and years. And our besties leave us at some point. And we're going to get to that part of this segment, unfortunately, because it's like losing a family member. But the joy that goes into getting any pet and the responsibilities that come with having a pet tee us up to become parents later in life if we're lucky enough to become parents. And you can't put a price tag on what you get from interacting with animals. It's priceless.
Well, during COVID was that time period where everybody went and got animals. So I ordered 2 guinea pigs, and we do curbside pickup. We put Dee Dee in the car, and you're not with your friends, you're home, you're homeschooling, the whole thing. It was just the start of it. And Jeff runs in, comes out with these guinea pigs. And it was the most magical experience I've ever encountered with a little. Her heart was so big. These were her babies.
What were their names, please?
Jojo and Elsa. Elsa from Frozen and Jojo Siwa. And from that day on, she never touched an iPad. She was never on a cell phone. She didn't watch TV. She had babies in Barbie cars. They were in Barbie dream houses. They were her babies, and she took care of them. And then Jeff thought he'd get another one. Great day and wake up with 5 little babies, but that's another topic. But what she learned from these guinea pigs and the mothering and nurturing, it's amazing. And the love. It's unconditional love.
I don't have anything in common with people that don't have animals. I might not like you if you don't have a pet, because I don't relate to somebody that doesn't like animals. It's a characteristic. If I was on a dating app and you put out everything that's important to you, if this person did not like animals or didn't like dogs or cats or whatever, I don't know that I could.
Maybe they're allergic. Maybe they can't have it in their,
like you can
there's
so many designer dogs now, and there's so many mixed breeds that you almost can.
I think they're
take that off the table.
I think people that don't have pets end up.
I think you're just a little bit.
I know.
I think you're just a little bit more about yourself if you don't have a pet. Pet ownership requires a lot of giving.
Yeah.
And it's not about you all the time, and it's not convenient a lot. You have to make sure that you've got a pet. You have to go home and make sure it's taken care of. If you're out, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to sleep out tonight. When we got our dog after my husband and I got married, we had a dog. We crate trained him, and we would be out in the city, and we weren't planning on staying over. And guess what? Now we're not staying over, even though we wanted to, because we had to go home for the dog. So at that time in life, it was a good opportunity. And to Farley's point before, it's a good pre-training for kids where you do have some responsibility, where you have to make it not about yourself and pull the plug when you want to keep the party going. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I do think that there are people that recognize that having an animal is something that they're not that interested in.
Well, during COVID, everybody went and got cats and dogs and bunnies, and they had them for a couple of years. Once people got back to their everyday life, all the shelters are full, because they realize now that we have our normal life back, we don't have time for the puppy walks. We don't have time for a kitten or whatever it was. And who suffers? The poor little animals. So if you're going to go buy a pet, you want a companion, you really have to think it out. So something that's really important for us is that we have pet insurance. And for anyone out there who's listening, you should definitely look into pet insurance. You have to go first, have a physical, make sure you're cleared, and then you can get it. And there's all these different kinds. You have to compare the prices, and there's all these top providers. Go to your vet and say, which ones do you physically take? There's different coverage types. It's you want just catastrophic? Do you want just per incident? There's all these different cost considerations.
Because I didn't have to have Moose have a physical
for all our insurance to count, because we really use our insurance,
right.
and
you
we
definitely do.
We got it.
They did a background check on the Boyles, and
they did a background check because, well, what happened is that we had Bernese mountain dogs. We didn't have one. We thought we'd have 2 or 3. I don't know how many dogs we had. So our one rescue, Zeus, who we love, sorry, Zeus, you're gone. He had lots of surgeries. So the first surgery he had, he decided to eat a corn cob. We go to Garden State, the most expensive hospital ever, $6,500. Now, mind you, we have this dog who looks into my eyes like something's wrong. So we take him there, and they're like $6,500. And I started pacing. I'm like, what? Excuse me? For the surgery. Pacing, hoping that they'd give you like a look and go, we'll give you 20 off. Nope. Hour later. All right. Just do it. So give us a half a corn cob that he ate all at once. Get sewn up, bring him to the vet. And I said, I need insurance, because who knows what's going to happen moving forward. Well, he had 6 surgeries because he would eat socks.
Is that the nature of that breed?
You know, some do. Our new puppy that we have, he loves to eat socks. So they eat socks. A lot of Goldens eat it. So the best was a panda puppet. It was a puppet that you put your whole hand into, and you kind of make, and you do your little, yay, little puppet, and then you put it back into the little house. He ate that. It was this size of my hand. He gets surgery, and now we're at pet insurance. It was $150 a month, $10,000 limit, $500 deductible, and they pay 80% of the surgery. So he has his stitches still from eating the giant panda puppet. And then he eats a stocking leg, and DD stocking leg, that's a thick one. So the vet at Atlantic Vet in Spring Lake, he is so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, Zeus ate another sock. He's like, are you kidding me? Went in and like literally just took the staples out to the same spot, pulled it out, and pulled out this giant stocking. So my point is, get insurance if you can. It's worth the money if you have a dog that eats everything. Because we had 7 surgeries on him, all from socks and stuffed animals. God. 7. Well, it was like a very expensive dog.
I feel like that takes us back to, responsibilities of a pet owner. It is also to figure out what's the right pet for you. Just because can you have a large dog in your house? Are you going to be able to take care of what the responsibilities of the dog are? Are they a high energy pet? Are they a low energy pet? What matches your life and what matches the pet's life with your life? It's not just about what you want or what's going to work. Yes, if you have allergies, you need a hypoallergenic dog. Like, that's a consideration. I have family members that have some of these dogs, and they are bouncing all over the walls with energy. So if you don't expend that energy, they chew your furniture. So you need to do your due diligence on what the breed requires. My dog Blue is a black lab, and I have to keep him moving. You know, they have a congenital hip situation. If you don't keep them moving, that they will degrade. They need to be outside as much as possible. So it's part of my routine. And Farley has a chocolate lab that Moose is and Blue are like brothers. We take them on hikes for like an hour a day. I'll say solid 5 days a week, as much as possible. And if I don't do that, then somebody else in my family does, because that is what they're meant to do. They were bred to be out in the fields, out in the wood. They're working dogs.
Well, it's like us. You have to keep us moving, or you slow down.
Yes.
It's sad because when Jazzy passed, which was devastating, and she was a Spitz. She was a
so
beautiful
cute
white Alaskan Husky looking dog. I was so sad for my parents because I thought that they were going to slow down because they didn't have a dog to walk and they didn't have that companion that just brings unconditional love and joy. So I decided to go out and get them a Jack Russell. Oh. And I thought, okay, this is a perfect dog for my parents. It's small and manageable and doesn't require a ton because they're a little bit active on their own.
A little bit.
Oh, boy.
Well, all of a sudden I saw that this Jack Russell jumped up onto the kitchen counter and onto my parents' table where they're having dinner. And it was like Family Circus, like the actual cartoon where you just could have an arrow that went from every single high and low point of the house. This dog had infiltrated. And I was so sad, but I understood it was not the right dog for them. And thankfully the breeder was kind and took this puppy back. And I'm sure he got adopted relatively quickly and had a lot of love. But do your due diligence before you adopt or purchase or gift somebody an animal, because it's a lot of responsibility. And like you were saying, you definitely need to know the nature and what the breed is all about prior to embarking on a journey for many years.
Remember, it was my dad's birthday. He was turning, I think, 82. And we said, my mom said, let's get your dad a dog. Let's get him a St. Bernard. So we research it. And we send a friend of ours down to North Carolina to Blue Ridge Mountain, picks up this Saint. Day later, comes walking up the driveway and hands this beautiful baby St. Bernard puppy to my dad. And it was his baby.
The cutest.
And
the only female dog that I think the Boyles
we've
have
never
had in their lives.
Ever. We'll never have another
female dog. I grew up with female dogs, Jazzy and Dandelion, and they don't have female dogs, but this Coco, she took everybody's heart.
But once again, Coco got ginormous.
Enormous. The biggest dog I've ever seen.
And then I think dogs find you, because a year later, my dad passes. And now this giant is protecting my mom for 8 years. And I swear Coco was meant to come to our family.
She was ferocious, but a gentle giant. If you knew her, she just loved you and she would back her body into you and sit on top of you and just wanted love. But fiercely, fiercely protective of the boundaries of the house and strangers walking on the property with like a whoa,
scared you.
Scariest bark ever.
And meanwhile, she's the biggest mush.
She was a phenomenal dog. My Moose has a little bit of a weight problem. That's why he's named. Well, he became what you named.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
He embodies him.
I think it's actually hysterical because I think so many pet owners start to look like their pets. And we're going to post some photos that I found of pets that resemble their owners. You kind of start looking like your best friends. So it makes sense, but you do kind of morph into your animal. Not that I've morphed into massive Moo Moo, but he looks like a Boyle dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's grown into his name.
And Blue Berenius walks just like John and looks and reminds me of her husband.
Scruff. He's got the scruff and the gray, just like John. They're aging together.
It's actually hysterical.
It's very funny.
But if you really look at the responsibilities that are monetarily large, vet appointments and just the cost of flea and tick treatments, and sometimes you have to do a stool sample because maybe they have worms and you have to have heart guard because of heartworms.
These Simparica Trio is what we use. So it has all three in it.
And that's
$100 and something per month.
It's a big number.
It's expensive.
Training dogs. Sometimes you have to train a dog and it's not something that you can do. I had to hire the dog whisperer because I had a bit of a problem. And I also had to install a doggy door.
Let's stick on the training for a second. I do think, especially if you get a puppy, The training is an incredible time that you can spend getting to bond with the dog, that I would say is time well spent. Carve out an hour a week, a couple of hours a week, and find places that offer training that you can go and be with your dog, where not only are they being trained how to walk on a leash and how to socialize with other dogs, but you're also creating an important bond with the dog and giving them that time. Usually the basic training for puppies is about 8 weeks, and then you can build upon that. But we did the Seeing Eye in Morristown when we had our dog Buddy. It was an incredible place because not only do they do the training that funds the Seeing Eye, which they have all these, a lot of them end up being the labs that walk people that are blind throughout Morristown. So it's an incredible place to see. But there are so many amazing facilities that teach your dog and give them the schooling that they deserve, because you can't gloss over it, and you can't expect that they're just going to grow out of habits. A lot of the habits that they have, if it's chewing on shoes or socks or not being able to walk on a leash, are taught at a very young age.
Or chewing on your giant furniture. Or in the beginning of the ski season last year, Didi said, I want a puppy. I said, you get top 10, we'll get you a puppy. Mind you, the end of the year, all of a sudden she gets top 10 at the Stow Duels. My jaw dropped to the bottom. I was like, oh my gosh, she skied really fast. She comes down, she goes, mic drop, Mom, I get a puppy. So we end up with Sugar Bear. Now, Jeff drove through the biggest snowstorm of the entire year, 4 hours to go pick up this dog that came from California, which when they say dogs find you, we called the breeder. She says, oh, we have a car going tomorrow and it's driving across country and we'll meet you. Jeff's like, okay. So we wanted to call it Stormy, but then I didn't with Stormy Daniels. And we got this puppy, and Sugar Bear chews everything. Anything wood, it's chewed. The other day I looked, oh, you chewed my favorite wooden chair, because they only eat your favorite stuff.
Of course.
I had a dog whisperer that came and taught me some very useful tricks. And it was, if a dog tries to walk through the door before you or lead you, then that's him showing dominance. So I had to train Moose, which I think he's actually kind of forgotten now because he'll knock me out of the way. But in the beginning, I don't
think it's on purpose. I think it's just size.
Well, he doesn't, he doesn't respect ladies before gentlemen.
And I also don't think he understands how big he is.
And you're like, wait a minute.
But there's very interesting things that are them showing dominance. Even if a dog just grazes you very lightly with their teeth and it's loving, it's not even, it doesn't hurt. It would never hurt you, but it's like letting them know that you are kind of owned by them. And so this dog whisperer told me, Farley, don't hesitate to kind of nibble on your dog occasionally, just to let him know that you trump that. So I do. I'll take Moose's ear sometimes when he's being a little naughty, and I'll just do a little like, hey, I got you. I'm older and wiser, and I own you, if I have to put him back in his place. So there's so many different theories on how to do things. And the thing that really gets me sad in this area is people will get puppies and they'll send them away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and a bus comes and picks them up and takes them to
doggy daycare,
takes them to Doggy, like, I'm going to train you and then I'm going to return you back to your family. And they do all the hard work, and then the dog gets reintegrated to your house, but you miss the 3 weeks or
But what happens with that is that they end up listening to whoever's training them.
Right.
And when you come back, they don't see you as the alpha.
That's why.
And who knows to build a relationship with? Let's be honest. Like I would rather build a relationship with my dog, and in that same vein, building a relationship and having everybody understand their roles. Children as well fall into this. Is they need to respect you, and they need to understand that you are the hand that feeds them, right? So one of the things that they told us when you feed them, make sure you can take the food away. Because there are dogs that get very aggressive. And if you have young children in the room or people that don't know the dog and don't know the rules, and they go to take their food or engage in their bowl, they can get very aggressive. So that's a little tip, again, to Farley's point about just making sure that, like, if you're nibbling on their ears or taking their food, that they understand that they are not in control. They are not the alpha. So that's like a simple thing that you can do to make sure that your dog's a little bit in check. So cats can be aggressive too.
You could do some research. You can go online and find tip. And if you work on something 15 minutes a day,
it becomes a habit.
It becomes a habit. And that's what we're working on right now with Sugar Bear is, okay, 15 minutes a day, we'll teach him another trick. And he's actually learning. I mean, burners are little
tricks.
Well, we have a tiny little rescue Jack Russell. Cappy, who's the boss hog. Al Capone is his name. And Sugar Bear, who's 100 pounds, thinks he's Cappy. So he gets on his back legs like Cappy does for treats. I don't think you're supposed to be doing that, Sugar Bear. So we're trying to get him back into not
Dog
Jack
see,
Russell.
Yes. Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do. Doggy see, doggy do. Everything he does, like we'll go for a walk and the little dog Cappy will kind of, he shakes his paws and like digs in the grass behind him. And now you have this big giant Bernese Mountain Dogs that's like shooting grass behind him. Like, so we're teaching him lots of tricks. Roll over, play dead.
I wish I could teach my dog to poop and then pick up his poop and put it in the garbage can. I've taught him to back into bushes, which is great.
That's what Yogi used to do.
He definitely backs into bushes and he picks areas that, make sense. But the poop picking up is definitely a task that every kid should have to do at some point in life.
Poop patrol.
Poop patrol is mandatory. If you want a dog, you are going to pick up poop. And if you're too good to pick up poop, then you shouldn't have a dog.
Agreed.
It's just the way it is. I mean, you want to pay for a poop company to come pick it up? I mean, they do.
Yeah.
They have cool apparatuses
for scoopers
that you don't even have to bend over and it's just like a grabber.
I think the best money that I ever spent was a doggy door. And I cannot express how much freedom that has given my life, my husband's life. We don't stress or feel guilty about our dog not being able to get out of the house when we're not home. And then we also installed a doggy fence. So these are the expenses that I'm talking about that we were willing to pay, because not only did it give us a better quality of life, it gave our animal a better quality of life. He can come and go as he pleases. He trolls the perimeter of our property, and it works for all of us. So I would strongly recommend, if you have a dog that has energy and needs to be, outside when he would like to take a dump, he can let himself out, and it's no muss, no fuss.
Yeah. Then invisible fences, if you can afford them, but they're very expensive. And they do have ones that you can set the perimeter so you don't have to have them installed into the ground. And you set the perimeter if you're in a house that you say, okay, I just want them in the backyard. I want 300 feet circumference, and you could set the perimeter that way. So you have to protect your pet because they're with you through thick and thin. They're with you from the beginning to the end. And sometimes that seems to be the hardest part of getting a dog. Like with mom's dog, Coco, the giant breeds and Bernese Mountain Dogs, they're shorter lives. So we came home from Vermont and unfortunately had to put Coco down, and it was heartbreaking. People keep their dogs, and when their quality of life suffers, a lot of people are selfish and keep them alive because you're attached to them.
They show love when they're in pain, and they still show love when they're sick, because of course they're unconditionally loving their owners and their family members. But you have to be able to read between the lines and know when it's unfair and when it can be potentially cruel, and detach yourself from keeping them, which is very hard to do.
Well, it's hard to do. I lived in California for a very long time, and Yogi, Pat's dog, which became the family dog, and I come home from California and I'm like, whoa, what happened to Yogi? And he's headbutting doors. He just was not Yogi. I hadn't seen him. So, when you leave a situation, you come back, you're like, oh my goodness. So we went to the vet and he was put down. Then I left for California and everyone's like, you killed Yogi. I'm like, no, you guys, nobody was with him. Like it was the hardest thing you can do.
It's very hard.
And it's selfishly, what are you going to keep him alive? And he's in pain. And that was with Coco. She was in pain. She's whining and whining, but her face was beautiful. And she just happened to have bone cancer that showed up in a day. But as hard as it is, you have to give them their quality of life back. Or you have to give them their quality of life. And the whole thing is their quality of life, has it changed? Yes. Are they happy? Are they in pain? Are they eating? Are they drinking? If they're not eating, if they're not drinking,
right,
and they're in pain, don't be selfish. And as hard as it is, you just...
Can they walk?
Can they walk? Yeah.
Can they actually go to the bathroom outside?
When we brought Coco to the vet, and he said, well, she has bone cancer. Her whole body's fine, but we can amputate her front paw. I'm like, huh? What? She's 170-pound, like Saint Bernard. No. And as hard as it is, my mom's like, no, it's not. That's not my baby. She's so tough, and she was still devastated about it. But
It's mesmerizing
it's
what
giving
people are willing to do for their animals. You see dogs that are missing a limb and they're rolling around with like a, little back carriage that helps them continue to walk. In that kind of a situation, if they're a younger dog and they have ailments, I'm all about getting those ailments fixed. I purchased a puppy mill dog. So let me just say, puppy mills are real. And if you are not adopting a dog from the ASPCA or the Humane Society and you're buying a dog, make sure you do your due diligence, because puppy mills seems to go hand in hand with pet stores. I unfortunately purchased one when I was not in my right mind. I was about to get surgery. My child had pneumonia. It was an impulse buy. It was the cutest bulldog I've ever seen in my life. And by the time that he started going through puberty, he started to manifest a lot of problems. So recognize that puberty for dogs will show you what could potentially be problematic in their future. And he had entropions, which is where your eyelashes grow on the inside of your eyelids. And every single time he blinked, his retina cornea area was scratched. So he had red eyes and constant crud coming out of him. And we just couldn't understand it. We thought it was allergies. We didn't know what it was. And then we found out that it was entropion surgery, mandatory, or he would live with this condition and it would eventually blind him. So we opted to take the necessary steps and we got him surgery. I did go back to the people that I purchased the dog from and did a shame on you campaign out in front of Lexington Animal in New York City.
They're everywhere. I think one of our burners was from a puppy mill and we didn't know it. It just, but unless you get it from a true breeder.
Had every problem.
Zeus was a rescue and he was from a puppy mill.
And then they wanted to give me, they said, bring him back and we'll give you, another dog. Well, no, we fell in love with this dog. And no, I'm not going to bring him back so that you guys can kill him. I'm going to do everything that in my power to make him a healthy dog. And you're going to pay for it because I'm going to exploit you, which I did. And they did end up paying for all the procedures. And he actually did live a pain-free life.
Well, the good thing now is that there's so many animal rescue operations that you can get a dog and just give an animal, dog, cat, whatever pet it is, like a home and a life. And they know that you rescue them. They know, like we have two and it's Cappy hit the jackpot.
Oh my God.
And
Cappy owns you.
And it's great. But that's what I mean. It's like they find you. And when you're going to look for an animal, like Farley said, check if you're going to a puppy mill because they're overbred. If you want to go for a purebred, everybody has problems out there. Just find that furry something that you can love.
Well, my parents actually bred yellow labs like for years, and that's where my first dog came from. And they were breeders who, most of the breeders, if you choose to go that route, most of the breeders will have a complete blanket policy where if you are unhappy with the dog at any point in the dog's life, my parents would take the dog back. And they learned this from the other breeders. Like they will take the dog back. They don't want the dog ending up in adoption. They'll take the dog back and they'll figure it out. Thinking about where you are in ownership of a pet, sometimes for people getting a puppy is not the right decision. An older dog is a better integrated into your life than getting a puppy.
That's what we think we should get Flossie right now.
I totally think we should.
And maybe a puppy isn't the right animal for your dog either. I've referenced on an earlier episode, we got my parents a cat because I knew having a dog was going to be too much responsibility. Yeah. And again, going back down and scaling it to, your children, you start with a fish, and sometimes when you're older, you have to scale backwards. We got my mother-in-law a betta fish. She subsequently killed, but it feels a little less tough killing a betta fish than it does killing, an animal that's higher up the proverbial food chain. So again, take a look at what your life looks like. Take a look at what you want the puppy's life. Take your lifestyle, take the cost, take all the factors into it. And, hopefully you find somebody who can come into your life, be a part of your family, and enhance not only your life but your family's life, your children's life. And you've given this beautiful animal who becomes your person an amazing place to live and live out their years.
And when they pass, there is something called a rainbow bridge, and it's a peaceful place where pet parents can go and they hang their collars, and They're hung from the railing, and you can go and you can visit them. And there's my friend Janet Sheehan. She did one and local to the Rumson area. It's at Hartshorn Woods. It's called the Hartshorn Rainbow Bridge. You can access it, the back trail, at the maintenance building. Do you know you can access it by the maintenance building and then walk north on the Grand Tour Trail. You enter the woods and it's 60 yards on your left. And there's a tiny rock that guides you basically to this rainbow bridge. And it's there. They honor all the animals. So we're about to go bring, unfortunately, 3 collars to hang there. And it's beautiful.
I have some collars to contribute.
Oh, it's just beautiful and it's magical.
My...
That's a great way to just honor your pets. And
another thing that we would love to discuss is that they can be microchipped. You know, you can be GPSed, and so that's another thing. If your dog doesn't like to wear a collar that has all of his credentials on it, which you kind of do need to have, because if somebody does pick up your dog on the loose,
you need to also register your pet. Be a responsible pet owner by registering your pet, because it's the right thing to do. Every town has ordinances on it anymore, and it's really just to give it some clarity and to understand what the pet population looks like. But it also to
might be $20 or $30.
We have air tags on our dogs,
and they have to be rabies vaccinated. Obviously, that's a critical piece, especially where we live in the Northeast with the advent of rabies. Be a responsible pet owner by making sure you register your pet and maybe have a microchip.
Get an air tags are great. I found Cappy from our air tag. But that's exciting. It's been super fun talking about pets. And there's so many more stories that we can tell, but we'll have to save that for another one. Getting jiggy with it. And ladies, who's our Got Grit winner of the week?
So our Got Grit award recipient this week comes with just a joyful video that we are going to share. I think everybody needs to see it because it actually brought tears to my eyes. Jim Clements, who happens to be the Clemson University president, was on the stage during graduation and, obviously shaking everybody's hands and giving congratulatory, pats on the back until he got knocked over by one very excited graduate who happened to be his daughter, Grace. Grace has special needs, and she was so excited to be walking up the stairs to see her dad, to shake his hand and give him a hug, that she knocked him over. And he smiled and laughed the whole time. The entire surrounding audience was cheering and clapping. And it was just a beautiful moment. And Clemson is actually really known for their special ed programs and their school. And I would imagine it has everything to do with Jim, because he has lived with the love that only a parent or a family member can receive from somebody that has special needs. And you could see just the reciprocal love between these two. So Jim and Grace are both our Got Grit award recipients, because they showed everybody just how real their love for each other was on like a national stage.
That video was magical. I feel it going through my whole body.
It's just so precious.
I love this in this graduation season that we're in, because, having attended graduation ceremonies in the past and just this past weekend, it does get a little monotonous. Unfortunately, there's just so many people graduating, but it is a momentous occasion and something that you want to make sure that you give the enormity and the totality of your love for, and she embodied that. So I just love that video.
Well, the cutest thing is his quote was, "Amazing Grace walked the stage and I hit the turf," the proud dad said. So Amazing Grace was her nickname. And it just didn't skip a beat of happiness. He was just so thrilled. So good. Yes, we'll share that with you. So check back on our YouTube or our social media platforms, and we will have that link.
Yeah. So for those of you that are attending graduations as we continue the month of May, pay attention, because you never know what's happening on stage while you're scrolling on your phone, which I watch so many people do. There's so many little nuances of things. So enjoy that little segment and enjoy your graduations if you have one this month.
I know.
Next week
coming up, I'll be in
Baltimore
watching my girl.
Big deal.
Clemson Life teaches independence, job skills, and apparently how to sack the university president.
Oh,
Was
that's
like
so
another
fun.
headline, but they are very known for their special needs programming and giving them life skills that they can take once they graduate and apply to their life independently if they're so lucky to live in a group home or however it works.
Awesome.
Love it.
All right. And Darian, I think you have our song for this week.
Right.
What beautiful lyrics do you have for us today?
Well, you're going to get this in 1 second, but it's a pretty special song. And every time I hear it, I think of my husband and a special time together because it was our wedding song. And it's super fun. We were ripping it up on the dance floor to it. Of course, it's a lovey-dovey one, but it was not slow. Well, my first, my last, my everything, and the answer to all my dreams. You're my sun, my moon, my guiding star. My kind of wonderful, that's where you are. I know there's only one like you. There's no way they could have made two. You're all I'm living for. Your love I'll keep forevermore. You're my first, my last, my everything.
Barry White.
Whoop, whoop.
I mean,
I love Barry White.
Just to have somebody write lyrics like that on your behalf.
So good.
Yeah.
So romantic.
Well,
That
and
song has meant a lot to a lot of people.
Oh,
Truly.
it's such
It's a gift that
it's
keeps
a really good song. And it's funny, Dee, we have that in common. I think I told you this on your wedding that
Yes.
Barry White was my wedding song, not that one though.
Right. What was
My
yours again?
darling, I
Mhm.
can't get enough of your love, babe.
And mine was Al Green.
Oh, yes. We're on the same.
Let's stay together.
Oh,
Loving you whether
times are good or bad,
and you're happy or sad.
And we're always happy here on Girls Gone Gritty. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited to bring you next week.
Oh, TikTok challenges and the risks that go along with them and how scary they are. And why is this allowed? That's what we are going to tackle.
TikTok. We hope your time continues to be up, but it's not ever.
Now,
going to
but these
stop.
TikTok challenges that are inciting evil
Evil. The
Need to
phone is
be-
evil.
need to come to a halt.
Well, thanks for tuning in to Girls Gone Gritty. And we'll hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.